Hi, my name is Penny McCullough, and I'm here today to share with you some ideas on mentoring faculty to tenure and beyond at a comprehensive institution. I recognize many people in this session are not at comprehensive institutions. Some are at bachelor's, some are at doctoral granting, but I think many of the principles that I talk about will be applicable to all. I serve as a retention, promotion, and tenure advisor in the College of Education and Allied Studies at Cal State East Bay. I serve at the pleasure of the dean, and I've served in this role for about 5 years, trying to help people within our college move through the process. And I'd like to share with you some of the ideas. The first part of this session will be pre-recorded, and then we'll stop in about 20 minutes and move into a more interactive mode. First of all, I'd like to highlight that in 2019, the AKA workshop, the topic was hiring, evaluating, and retaining kinesiology faculty. So some of the ideas expressed here today are repetitions of those that we talked about in 2019. Part of your role as a leader in kinesiology is to hire good faculty and then keep them. And sometimes that's not as easy as it seems. But just to let you know from that 2019 workshop, the entire issue of kinesiology review, published articles presented at that meeting. So I just want to point out the difference between Kinesiology Review and Kinesiology Today. I am editor of Kinesiology Today, not of Kinesiology Review. Kinesiology Review is an academic journal published 4 times a year, and it produces scholarly articles. One of the issues is always dedicated to publishing papers as a result of the AKA workshop. Another issue is devoted to papers presented at the National Academy of Kinesiology Conference, and the 2 other issues are open issues for review papers. Kinesiology Today is an online magazine. It's part newsletter that it does feature issues that are going on within the American Kinesiology Association, but then it also highlights research and programs surrounding physical activity and sometimes stories from around the world. It's a good resource to use, especially in your undergraduate classes, so we could chat about that after if you have any questions. Okay, from the fall 2019 issue, the one I was talking about, the AK workshop, there's probably at least 4 articles that are especially germane, although all of them talk about things that we are going to talk about today. So I'm going to highlight just a couple of those. I was involved in a paper on recruiting, evaluating, and retaining faculty. And we have to recognize that evaluation starts the day the new faculty comes onto campus. As soon as they get their keys and get in an office, people will be looking at them and they're under the microscope. It is very, very, very important that you establish clear expectations and a plan for these individuals right up front so they know what they need to do to be successful. We also need to be careful and be aware of potential biases. And Russell et al. Did a paper in that 2019 issue on potential biases in evaluation, including sexual orientation, race, gender, age, all sorts of different things that can have bias, and we need to recognize and try and move around those. Also, we have to recognize in kinesiology, there's sometimes bias in areas of expertise. We span from the humanities to the life sciences, and publishing practices are quite different sometimes in those fields. In the life sciences, sometimes the last author is the most important author. And in the humanities, that's not the case at all. Life sciences mostly have multiple authors, and in humanities, you may have single authors. So just understanding the types of research that people do is important before you try to evaluate them. Another paper in that issue was by Martin et al., and they talked about evaluating kinesiology faculty. They recognized that there's little training in how to evaluate. When I was a department chair, I tried to review every year with my faculty that were on review committees what the process was and what they needed to do, and they needed to understand what the policies were. That article also gave ideas on how to evaluate teaching and mentoring, evaluating research, faculty service, and outreach activities. So if you're having trouble evaluating some of those things, you may well take a look at this article. Mary Rudisil talked about at that workshop about aligning evaluations with the strategic goals and missions of the university. And their department undertook quite a process to try and realign what they were doing in the department so it matched with the university goals. And finally, Brad Hatfield at that workshop talked about peer evaluations. In his department at the University of Maryland, every tenure track faculty evaluates every other tenure track faculty on an annual basis, and the chair uses that information to do the final evaluation. Another paper in that issue was by Knudsen et al., and they talked about differences in mentoring tenure track faculties at bachelor universities with a primary emphasis on teaching, the doctoral institutions where there's a primary emphasis on research. So if you can go to that article and look at the type of university you're at, and you may get some ideas about things that you can do to help faculty in the tenure and promotion process there. So let's go over a few things here. First of all, know the rules. Make sure you know the rules and make sure your candidate knows the rules. Surprisingly, this may seem very straightforward, but many people do not pay attention and they don't follow when there's changes made. I am repeatedly surprised how little emphasis or focus of attention people put on the rules and the policies. If folks come from a different university and come into your department or your college, they think it's the same. Well, it's not. There's hardly any university that is the very same in terms of tenure and promotion. They vary drastically, even within my own system, which is made up of bachelor's and master's degrees in institutions only in the Cal State system. The rules are different, very different. So you need to know the rules. And you have to make sure your evaluation committee knows the rules and has the most recent document in their hands when they do this evaluation. You also have to know what the culture is in your department, your college, and your university. The university will have a PTR document. Can your department or college have one on its own? Find out. It may well be that you can structure some guidelines for your own candidates within your department or your college. We did that at our university, and all 5 departments in our college accepted the same document for professional achievement. If you're a candidate or if you're a new department chair, ask for advice from your colleagues, other department chairs, from the professional development team on your campus. Ask for help. And I'm surprised, one more time, even my role at the college, where I'm not evaluating people, I'm just helping them. Some people just don't want help. They think they know the rules and they think they know how to do it. Is there a mentoring program on your campus? If so, get one. They don't necessarily have to be from your department, but get a mentor, so somebody that will hold your hand through the process. And how often do your reviews occur? In our system, people receive a comprehensive review every year. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's hard to say, but you certainly get feedback every year to try and help you along in the process. Well, the times they are a-changing, and perhaps more so at comprehensive universities. At least I can say so within my comprehensive university, which has 23 campuses. When I went to my campus 20 years ago and I was hired in as chair, there was no research out of my department, no research. There was a new faculty member who'd been here 1 year and she was doing some, but all the rest of the faculty, no research. That took quite an effort to make a culture change in that department. When I came in, I was prompted by both the dean and the provost of the university that things needed to change. Well, I worked on it, and it took a lot longer than I thought, but it is changed. And now we have a very active faculty. Not only they're great teachers, but also they are every single one is involved in scholarly activity. What do we do with RTP, PTR? Someone asked me, is that the same thing? We call it RTP, but it's PTR at most other universities. As I mentioned before, we adopted a college-wide document for expectations for research. And all the units within our college use that document. We worked with university officials and staff to move to an online dossier. When I did this about 5 or 6 years ago, our college was the only one in the university that required online dossiers. There were some platforms out there that I thought were much better than what we were going to use. We used Blackboard, which is our learning management system. It's not perfect and it has glitches, but it is At least it is online, and for the first couple of years, I did surveys with the candidates, the evaluators, the reviewers, and everyone liked the online format far better than the wheelbarrow full of notebooks that people would carry around. What else do we do at CSU? We meet with the RTP candidates on a regular basis and with the dean and hold conversations particular to the process in addition to a number of faculty development topics. The dean always said that this is one of her favorite meetings that she goes to every semester because she loves hearing the passion from the faculty about what they're doing. So we talk about how to cross-pollinate between teaching, research, and service. We talk about maintaining balance in life. I'm not very good at that one. We talk about goal setting for future work, possible journal outlets that they may not know about, and also support for writing groups, and the like. So we talk about all sorts of different things related to them moving through the RTP process. What about teaching, research, and service? When I was first graduated, which was many years ago with my doctorate, there were silos: teaching, research, university service, and community service for distinct processes, and there was really not much overlap between any of those. It's really important that as young faculty, you understand that you want to play to your strong suit. Okay? And depending on the type of university you're at and what the expectations are, you want to make sure that you can do as well as you can. What we really encourage at our university at this point in time is ways to cross over between teaching, research, and service. I call it double dipping, but some folks don't like that terminology. How do you cross-pollinate? At a comprehensive university like ours, faculty are often teaching 4 courses a semester. Let me repeat, 4 courses a semester. And they have research requirements. So the time is very difficult to get all of those things done. So it's important if you can figure out how you can combine your teaching, your research, and your service so that you can make the most effective use of your time. And we encourage and talk about ways to do that. We also want to make your Vita easy to read. And one more time, I'm quite surprised at this, that when I review individuals' Vita, some of them are just not in good order. The Vita is the most important document that tenure track faculty have as they move through the tenure process. What we have done, and our dean loved this process, and it's now kind of standard at our campus, within our college at least, is every year we are reviewed, remind you, every faculty is reviewed every year during this PTR process. And what we ask them to do is highlight what they've done in the last year or since their last accomplishment. It makes it really easy to read the Vita and see what they've done, okay? And see what they've done for the previous year. For example, many times you expect presentations to turn into publications. If they highlight this, you can see. So this actually was a presentation the year before, and then it turned into a publication. You should be able to see that. If you highlight, it makes it so simple. Not just your scholarly activities, your teaching, your community, your service. Just highlight what you've done in the last year, and it makes it easy for the evaluators to look at. I got this quote from Al Smith just a couple of weeks ago, and he said that, and he's a department chair and our current president of AKA, and he said it's really important to highlight with faculty, however, that the annual review is a snapshot of that year. Okay, you could have a very good annual review year 1. You could have a good annual review year 2. So it looks like you're doing things and you are being active. But if you don't complete those processes and get them to publication, that's a problem. So it's only a snapshot. And you have to remind junior faculty about that they need to keep plugging along. It's a long process to go through the tenure process, typically 6 years. And the process is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't get this all done in year 5 and expect that tenure will go smoothly. It has to progress slowly over a long period of time until you culminate in that last year with tenure. So you got tenure. You made it over that hurdle. That's great. And now what are you going to do? And some campuses do have some sort of mentor programs for individuals once they achieve tenure, but many do not, and we kind of forget about those folks. They got tenure, they've been running on the treadmill for years, they're exhausted, they're tired, they're happy that they got tenure. Hopefully they take a couple of weeks off that summer instead of working all the time. But then what's next? What about the life of an associate professor? How does it change? What are the expectations? You probably better have some conversations, but it's not the same. What can you do differently? What are some of your options? Teaching, research, and service. Can you decide on doing some new things? Probably so. Can you slow down a bit and maybe even change direction? Absolutely. Okay, now is the time to contemplate a little bit about, I've accomplished that. That was difficult. It was hard, but I've got it done. What do I do next? And how do I plan? Don't go on hearsay. One more time, know the rules, and know the culture. There's 5 great things, or at least 5 great things. Here's a few that happen once you become an associate professor. You could have more time for student mentoring and coaching. And in the next talk right after me, Jennifer's going to spend quite a bit of time talking about that. You have time to improve your teaching, maybe take workshops, learn 2 new technologies, do different things. Take a little bit of time to really get into enjoying your teaching and expanding. Try and work on some collaborations in terms of research, teaching, and service. Take some time, meet some new people, see what else you can do. Maybe you want to do some long-range planning for some new leadership roles, and I'll talk about that in a second. And now you have the chance to take some risks. Do it. Have some fun. What's next? How do you stay engaged, productive, and happy? I've often seen some people, they get tenure and promotion, they're now an associate professor, and they go flat. We don't want to see that happen. So it may be that you need to try some new things to make it more exciting for you to come to the office every day. You need to keep chugging, but it can be different. But you need to consciously think about that and what it is you want to do. Know the rules for sabbaticals. Sabbaticals are a time to refresh. That's what they're for, to refresh your teaching skills and to refresh your research skills. So know what the rules are for sabbaticals. Typically, most campuses, you have to apply for these and they're awarded to different individuals, but find out what can you do to take a sabbatical, and then how do you plan to make it efficient so you can learn new things. That's the important thing. What about professional service? It takes a lot of time to do professional service. I've been heavily involved in professional service all my life, and it takes a lot of time. So you have to say, how do you get involved? Okay, it's a good idea to probably have someone mentor you. Choose positions where you think you can make a difference. Don't waste your time sitting on a committee or a board where you just sit there. Choose something that's going to be exciting and fun for you and where you feel as though you can make a difference. Be prepared for surprises. Talk to any president of any professional association this year, and boy, oh boy, there were surprises and there were a lot of things that individuals had to work out. It was a tough year for professional organizations. But it's pretty fun, and I've spent a lot of my professional career offering service to professional organizations. Here are some of our leaders: Al Smith, Jeff Fairweather, Nancy Williams, our current presidential lineup. Mary Rudisil is a former past president of AKA, and now she's president of NASPA. That's a position I've had as well. And these positions are fun, and they're really fun because you can have an influence and you can try and help make a difference. But figure out how that is and get mentored into some of those positions if that's what you would like to do. Another question that I often get: when can I go up for full professor? Many universities, it takes years. Our university in the CSU system is quite quick. You can go up after 4 years. At some universities, it may be almost impossible to reach full professor. At the university that I was at before I came to the Cal State system, I was never going to be a full professor. The writing was on the wall. There was no way. And there's some individuals 20 years later that were associate professors with me that are still associate professors. Okay, they never made it through the system. So it's really important that you know the culture at your university, at your campus, and within your department so that you can realistically plan your life. Okay, we're going to stop there and we'll move on into these homework assignments. I sent these to you about a week ago. I hope some of you have had a chance to go through these. And what I'd like to do is stop here, and then we'll open it up and we'll have conversation.